Hey, Sean, you're live.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the meeting of Smith Falls Town Council for Monday, March 4th, 2024. On March 4th, 2024, we acknowledge the sacred land on which Smith Falls is now located has been a site of human activity for over 10,000 years and is rich in Indigenous history. This land is the ancestral and unceded territory of the Algonquin Anishinaabe Nation. We're grateful to the Algonquin ancestors who cared for the land and water in order we might be here today. We're also grateful to the Algonquin people for their contribution in the making of the Rideau Canal, which runs through Smith Falls. We're mindful of broken covenants and the need to reconcile with all the relations. Together, may we care for this land and each other, drawing on the strength of our mutual history of nation building through peace and friendship, being mindful of generations to come. I'll call the meeting to order. We have all members present, with the exception of having two members, both Councillor Brennan and Councillor McGuire are available remotely. Councillor McKenna, you have the approval of the agenda.
Yes, Your Worship. Moved by myself, second by Councillor Robinson, that the March 4th, 2024 regular council meeting agenda be approved as circulated.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor McKenna, second by Councillor Robinson, that the March 4th, 2024 regular council meeting agenda be approved as circulated. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. I'll ask for disclosure of pecuniary interest and or conflict of interest and general nature thereof. Seeing none. Approval of minutes is with Councillor McGuire, if he's able to pipe in remotely.
I tried to get him on the phone and he answered, but then it went blank.
I'll shift that to Councillor McKenna, please.
Okay.
Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Robinson that the minutes of February 20, 2024 regular council meeting be received and filed.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor McKenna and seconded by Councillor Robinson that the minutes of the February 20th, 2024 regular council meeting be received and filed. All in favor? That's carried as well. Council reports, updates, announcements. Any reports from a member of council, either present virtually or no? Okay, I've got a couple of reports myself. Let's see, where do I start here? I guess we'll recognize that the flags at Town Hall were lowered last week to honor former Prime Minister Brian Mulroney, who passed away, and they will remain at half-mast until his funeral, which I don't think we have a date for that yet, but certainly acknowledgement to the role Prime Minister Mulroney had played in our country. I want to make sure we properly acknowledge his passing. As well, a couple of reports from myself. On February 20th, I attended the meeting of the Falls Food Hub, and just to give a little bit of an update, planning continues for the new location at the Chambers Street Plaza. Fundraising is going on. I suspect we'll probably see, Town Hall will see the application for the building permit probably in the next few weeks, and work should begin soon thereafter. We look forward to that organization providing further service to our community. I was over at the community lunch today, and there's probably about at least 12 to 15 different agencies who were there today just to simply connect with the community and provide resources, demonstrate the services they provide, and just trying to help our population, the people who were in attendance. So it was a great day over there at Hanley Hall today. What else have I got here? On the 23rd, CEO Morris and I met with the Via Rail's high frequency rail team. And a little bit of an update. So that project is currently out with three potential, proponents who will be responsible for sort of, I guess, they respond to the RFP. They're going to end up putting together their vision after all the consultation that's happened so far. It's 1,000 kilometers of track between Quebec City and Toronto, and of course, Smith Falls is at sort of the middle of all that. We don't know yet if we'll have a stop at Smith Falls, as we were definitely advocating for, but there's a number of decisions to be made before we get to that point. But very encouraging to have, the ongoing dialogue with this group. A little bit of a change in the dynamics of the group. Some new people have been added, one who will be stepping away somewhat. But regardless, I think it's exciting to see this initiative. It's still quite a ways away. Ultimately, probably construction will not begin until late 2020s, and trains rolling out probably early 2030s. And I don't see Morris, if you have anything more to add to brief comments.
No, I think you covered it, Your Worship. I would suggest, though, that the Mayor of Castleman joined us.
Yes, Jean Lajoie. yeah, certainly very important to their community as well. So more coming forward as we have an opportunity to share. They did share a speech that the new head of that did deliver to Montreal and will be delivering into Toronto, I think, or maybe has recently, will be recent in the near future. Perhaps I'm going to share some details with that once it's public.
Open for questions
Sure.
on that. Thank you, Your Worship. Just on that, if it might take up to a decade to see that fully implemented, I just wondered how the town is tracking these conversations. It's you might be here in 10 years and C.O. Morris might be here in 10 years, but how do we keep track of, and how is that documented, or, you know, just so that there's a legacy built on the town and our understanding going forward?
Good point. I maintain files on it, but that's something that I guess as my predecessor did when I left. Those files are available.
Okay.
They were available for me, and I guess continue to be available for beyond me.
Okay.
I'm sure C.M. Morris maintains some.
Yeah, similar. We'll have an active file that will be available for any successor that comes along.
Great point.
Okay, thank you.
And then also the 23rd, as council may be aware, C.M. Morris and I had a Zoom delegation with Parliamentary Assistant Sandu, Parliamentary Assistant to the Minister of Infrastructure, regarding our advocacy under the Housing Enabling Water System Fund, and looking, of course, for support for the upgraded trunk water main sewer separation project. It's 1.7 kilometers, about $50 million cost. And I think our thoughts afterwards is that this project fits perfectly within that. We've got a shovel-ready project that can begin work this year. And I assume the application will be going in shortly if it hasn't already been submitted.
Yes, we're preparing to have it in well in advance of the April 19th deadline.
Perfect. Thank you. Any questions related to that? Thank you. What else? Had a hospital board meeting the 27th. Nothing really to report from that. And I guess that's it for now. Moving on, I've got a couple of proclamations. World Energy Efficiency Day, a day to reflect and make a difference. Whereas since 1998, March 5th has been recognized as World Energy Efficiency Day. And whereas World Energy Efficiency Day aims to raise awareness of the need to reduce energy consumption through reasonable energy use. Whereas contrary to the rumors, improving how energy efficient you are does not mean sacrificing comfort and quality of life. And whereas everyone can take some measures to achieve good levels of energy efficiency and reduce their carbon footprint, now therefore be it resolved that I, Sean Panko, Mayor of the Town of Smith Falls, hereby proclaim March 5th World Energy Efficiency Day in the Town of Smith Falls, and further that although a society-wide problem, every little bit helps, and community members are encouraged to celebrate World Energy Efficiency Day by using energy responsibly. And accordingly, some tips on what we can do. Attempt to complete tasks that require lighting during daytime hours to use natural light. Turn off lights when they're not in use. Maybe a good day to replace older light bulbs with LED or energy-saving bulbs. I know this as a store on the weekend and LED bulbs are on sale, so we have a good time to pick some extras up and replace your incandescent bulbs. Cleaning and maintaining bulbs also helps. Shut off gaming systems, computers instead of placing in standby mode when not in use. Walk, ride a bike, or use other forms of non-motorized transportation instead of using a vehicle when possible. And in recognition and support of World Energy Efficiency Day, Town Hall will be turning down the thermostat by 1 degree to 19 degrees as a symbolic gesture to reduce energy consumption and promote energy conservation. It will be warm tomorrow, 12 to 15 degrees, but I guess Town Hall users are still encouraged to bring a sweater or an extra layer just in case it does get a little bit cooler during the day. Space heaters on an individual basis are discouraged. Staff are also encouraged to ensure all lights are turned off when leaving the office, both tonight and on an ongoing basis, only using lighting which is needed to complete work throughout the day tomorrow. And our community service staff is also working to ensure permanent lighting which is not needed is turned off in recognition of energy conservation. And I have a second proclamation. International Women's Day, March 8th, 2024. Whereas International Women's Day is a global day celebrating the social, economic, cultural, and political achievements of women. And whereas the day also marks a call to action for accelerating gender parity. Whereas significant activities witnessed worldwide as groups come together to celebrate women's achievements or rally for women's equality. Whereas International Women's Day is one of the most important days of the year to celebrate women's achievements, educate and awareness raised for women's equality, call for positive change advancing women, lobby for accelerated gender parity, fundraise for female-focused charities. Whereas International Women's Day 2024 campaign theme is Inspire Inclusion, because when we inspire others to understand and value women's inclusion, we forge a better world. Now therefore be resolved that I, Sean Panko, Mayor of the Town of Smith Falls, hereby proclaims March 5th, International Women's Day in the Town of Smith Falls, and prove that everyone, everywhere, can play a part in helping to forge gender equality. Now, we are very fortunate today to have our Medical Officer of Health, Dr. Lena Lee, with us to come as a delegation, do a presentation regarding a voluntary merger exploration for the health units. So, Dr. Lee, it's great to have you here. Welcome. We look forward to your presentation.
Thank you. So, yes, thank you. The presentation is up. I have a copy in front of me, so I will speak as we go to the presentation and a bunch of notes. The topic can be a little bit dense, and I'm in it, so it's easy for me to know what I'm talking about. But if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to interrupt and let me know. I want to make sure that I'm giving you the information that would be of interest. So, I guess I can just do a very quick introduction. So my name is Lena Lee. I am the Medical Officer of Health and CEO for the Health Unit. The Health Unit does serve Leeds and Granville County, as well as Lanark County and all municipalities within. And we are one of 34 health units all across the province. I give this introduction because this presentation is really on the topic of a initially provincial initiative on potential mergers for health units. So today we'll be talking about an update on the merger exploration, a little bit on the provincial public health strategy, a little bit on what we've been doing and the approach we've been taking, and then some of the next steps. If we go to the next slide, thank you. So, on the topic of voluntary mergers. So this actually began, there's a bit of history before the pandemic, that there was the introduction of a plan from the province to consolidate health units from 35 to 10. And that would have actually led to Eastern Ontario all being one health unit integrated within the Ottawa region, including Kingston, a very, very large region. There was immediate pushback from both health units as well as from municipalities. And at that time, the advocates included AMO and ALPHA, which is the Public Health Association representative for us. And it was around one, the province had talked about potentially this being a cost savings measure. There was an expectation that there would be a reduction in public health budgets, especially provincial grants as a result of this. And the other was the large size of each health unit. Then, of course, the pandemic happened, and so that was put on pause. Post-pandemic, there has been a better understanding of the importance of health units and public health. And what the province has proposed now is the offering of incentives for health units to voluntarily merge on our own terms. And so that's the situation we're in now. Really, the province has a set of goals around capacity, stability, sustainability, and more equitable outcomes, which certainly aligns with the goals that we have as a health unit. So the province has talked about larger health units of 500,000 population or more, improving critical mass for resources, especially human resources, maintaining frontline jobs and services, and this is really critical. There's an emphasis on the part of the province about maintaining service provision of local health units in the merger process. And the last piece I want to highlight is that any cost savings stay within the local health unit. So the province has removed this expectation of reducing the grant or the cost for local health units. And so if we go to the next slide, I'll talk a little bit about what we're doing. So this is what started from the province, and the approach that we've taken really has been a proactive one. We've been exploring voluntary mergers with a partnership combination of ourselves and LGL, the health unit. It's a mouthful. So Kingston, Frontenac, Lennox, and Addington, which is the Kingston and Northward region, and then Hastings, Prince Edward, which is the Belleville and Northward region. What we have in common with these two other health units is a history of collaboration among our three health units. We do have similar cultures among our communities and a shared population with key travel corridors around the 401 as well as from Highway 7. We have actually created a tri-board working group we had a meeting today talking among the three health units about what it might look like in this merger exploration process. We've engaged a consultant to conduct a feasibility study, which is paid for 100% on top of our regular operational budget by the province. Looking at the feasibility of the nitty-gritty of our IT systems, our HR systems, et cetera, the program delivery that we have. And really what we're looking for is structures that would best serve community well-being, and that remains our goal and has always been our goal even now within the health unit. So if we, same slide. So the principles of the merger that we've been talking about, and this is across the tri-board combination, which is at the board level as well as at the operational level for myself, the two other medical officers of health in my partner health units, as well as with our exec teams, all consistently looking at the first I'll emphasize is being responsive to local needs, and especially to the needs of rural communities or urban communities or whatever that community is. For us, for me certainly, and our health unit, our strength really comes from serving our communities and being located within our communities, being responsive to our communities. That is the expectation for a merged health unit, is that would continue, and that certainly has been the theme that we've heard from our two other health units as well. So I won't go through each of those principles, we can all read them, but one thing that I will mention is it's not a principle there, but there is an expectation as well that there would be adequate provincial funding to cover the merger costs. The province has talked about a 3-year merger funding that would be on top of the typical provincial grant for local health units. And that starts this year going to 2026. The expectation is that it would cover essentially transition costs, the work of actually integrating organizations that merge, as well as costs for investment, taking this opportunity to be able to get some of the tools and infrastructure that we've been sadly underfunded for some time. So this being a dedicated provincial funding opportunity on top of our usual operational budgets. So the next slide talks a little bit about municipal impacts in particular. And so there's a few things I want to mention. One is we do work very closely with our municipalities on the topic of community well-being. That I would expect to continue. I expect that we would work on common goals, and the program delivery changes with time as it always does, but I would not expect that to be a substantial change as a result of mergers. There are two elements I want to highlight. One is each health unit has a different set of municipal levies. There will be need to equalize or otherwise have conversations about municipal levies. This would be achieved over time. It's not something we would do right away, and the province would be willing or able to cover, at least from now until 2026, the cost differential for municipalities in the equalization process. The levy structure would be determined ultimately by a new merged Board of Health if that were to go forward. And the last thing I'll mention about the municipal levy is that the province is actually undertaking a funding model review for local public health units. It's a separate process. In the year of 2025 is when they're expecting that to start. And so that may affect the municipal levy in the longer term as well. They haven't given details on that. The other element is a change in board representation, because we'll be going from a board with 6 obligated municipalities, which is what LGL experiences now, to a board potentially of 14 obligated municipalities, which would be the combination of us, KFLA, and HPE. There would need to be a refiguring of board representation, which may mean, to be clear, that there may be alternating representation from some of our obligated municipalities so as to make a manageable size for this new board. So the next slide, the other components that I wanted to highlight. So I mentioned that the province is reviewing the funding model for public health. So that's the second point. That is happening in 2025. It may affect then the resources that health units have to deliver services. The second point is that the province is reviewing the Ontario Public Health Standards, which is the foundational documents that govern the role and scope of local public health units. That review is being undertaken right now. It is being led by the province with extensive local health unit consultation. I quote from their documents as to their goals. It is to review the roles and responsibilities and refine, remove, or shift to another level of government, either regional or provincial, the work of local public health units. And so you might imagine that that might change the work of local public health units as well. That is independent of whether a merger goes forward or any voluntary merger process. And so when we talk about services and the potential effect of a merger on services, that's something to keep in mind as well, as something unrelated but happening at the same time, confusingly. The last slide that I'll mention is where we are now and where we might expect to go. So right now we're in the phase of the feasibility study. And so that's the consultant that I mentioned that we've engaged. And that feasibility study, we're on the cusp. In the next couple of weeks, we should be receiving a report. Next, the Board of Health would make decisions about an intention to merge. That's not the ultimate, like then we're locked in. There are several steps after that. So the end of March is that intention to merge decision with the hope that a motion would be passed. If it passes, then we would have a business plan submitted to the province on April 2nd that enables the funding that I talked about from the province about mergers. We would expect a provincial response for our submission of the business plan sometime in the summer of this year. There might be a little bit of back and forth conversation with the province then, and then there would be a further commitment on the part of each separate Board of Health as to whether a merger would indeed go forward. The intention or the timeline for actually a legal merger would be sometime in 2025, likely very early. And then the actual implementation, the integration of potentially 3 health units into one single health unit would happen over the course of, well, we have funding until 2026, though it may take a little bit longer. So that's the presentation. Hopefully it was clear. Any questions?
Thanks, Dr. Lee. And for the public who aren't aware, Councillor McKenna is our representative on the Public Health Board and chairs the board. And I'd love to have your continued conversation here, your input.
Thank you, Your Worship, and Dr. Lee. I just want to acknowledge Dr. Lee and her 2 colleagues, the 3 medical officers of health, have been a tremendous resource. There's about 3 of us from each health unit on this work group with our 3 medical officers of health. We've been meeting since January, I guess. I just wanted to talk just for a minute about, it's going well, difficult conversations, but they're best had among people that have a goal of keeping the population health in mind. They aren't looking at their own organizations, they're looking at the big picture. The reason Leeds Grenville Lanark is so unique is because we have 4 separated municipalities, which is the largest number probably in Ontario in any one area. It's unusual. So we have all these obligated municipalities paying levies to our local health unit, where the others, they have a beautiful fit. We're trying to keep the board size to something manageable. So if it's equal representation from the legacy boards coming on, we have an anomaly here with more obligated municipalities than we have seats for. So the idea is we borrowed a page from one of the conservation authorities and some other areas that have done this, and they rotate the municipalities' participation. So Smith Falls might be on the board for 2 years or for 4, and then next time it might be Prescott, and then next time it might be Gananoque. So that's one idea that we're looking at to manage the governance piece. And of course, the United Counties and Lanark would be there as well, the upper tiers. So just wanted to add that there's a reason why we're a little special, let's say, in Lanark, Leeds Grenville with these wonderful separated municipality issues. But it's going well. We had a long, full day today, and it's great to have you here. And I'll stop and see if there's questions.
Sure.
Okay. And we're doing United Counties Wednesday morning at 9, Gananoque, Prescott, Lanark.
The whole tour
The whole
road.
tour.
Wow.
So
over the next 3 weeks.
I'm in a community near you soon, right? Wonderful. Well, thank you. Further questions and comments from members of council? I guess just a couple. I guess I go back to when these conversations started, and I mean, part of me says, well, why fix something that doesn't need fixing? And I can appreciate there must be some synergies that would be available through a larger organization. Are you able to help provide some understanding there?
Yeah, so I can give 2 very concrete examples, actually. So this year, because we'd not inspected some of our stable settings, providing health services, or not health services, sorry, personal service settings, we didn't inspect them during the pandemic, and then there was a lot of turnover. Then this year we had actually 3 infection prevention and control lapses identified in our region. Those lapses are a lot of work. They draw staff probably over the course of a month or 2 dedicated to do that work. So there's follow-up for people who may have been exposed. There's a lot of training for those providers. There's a lot of calls from the public, etc. So that work is what I would call demand work or surge work. That's on top of the usual work. Our team for personal service settings is 4 staff. They're already assigned to do the routine inspections. And their time is fully spoken for. This IPAC lapse, not to mention 3 IPAC lapses, are on top of that. So you might imagine for a smaller health unit such as ourselves, situations such as this, and so this is an example, but we have surge work for all sorts of different situations in our communities. Measles, for example, is a hot topic these days, spending a lot of time there. That surge work is on top of the usual work. We don't have a lot of surge capacity just because of the size of our health unit. And it's not to say that our health unit, like you said, it's not to say that that's something that's broken, but more so to say the practical, pragmatic effects of these sorts of things, which you can't predict, which you can't staff proactively for, but which happens. A larger organization sort of insulates you a little bit from those challenges for staffing. The other example that I'll give, which is not our health unit, but other health units, but we have similar challenges is because we have a relatively small organization and quite specialized roles. Sometimes if one or two people within the organization leave or retire, with demographics being what it is in our region, you end up having gaps in coverage. And sometimes those really specialized roles are registered or designated. You can't train someone up in a couple of months. They really have to already have licensing. They're very challenging to recruit for. We're in the very fortunate position that recently we've recruited, for example, for a preschool speech language pathologist, but that was a challenging role to recruit for because we are a small organization. Again, it's that staffing issue, right? If you lose someone, especially if they're a single incumbent position, you're vulnerable potentially. A larger organization, again, insulates you there. There's lots of others, but just, two examples that we've had fairly recently.
The budget for our health unit is smaller than the town of Smith Falls budget, considerably. So it's, just to put it in perspective, they're small.
Yes. Second question, I guess. And I've got great appreciation for the work the health unit does, and especially so much of the upstream work it does in trying to keep our communities well and healthy and trying to prevent some of the factors that lead to deteriorated health over a long period of time. And we know that coming out of the pandemic is even more challenged, I think more challenging for most families and the community and healthcare providers. But my worry is this is all coming together, assuming this voluntary amalgamation is agreed upon by all parties and approved by the province, and then it's going to take about 3 years to implement. And so my concern is that the amount of effort and time needed to implement this is it going to draw from some of the resources that our community is so dependent on today?
Yeah, and this is a significant consideration for myself, right? But being the CEO of the organization, you really have to think about how are we using the resources of the people that we have. There are a few things that we've been talking about internally, looking at this very topic. One is some preparatory work that we can do now, especially, and so this figures a little bit with the Ontario Public Health Standards Review. So what are we doing, sort of a survey of our work internally, and then also what do we feel that the communities will need, anticipating need in the coming 3 to 5 years. We just did our strategic plan. Part of it was because of this. And so that's one piece of it. The second piece of it is, fortunately, there is actually dedicated provincial funding, and I've been made to understand that the dedicated municipal or provincial funding is actually somewhat unique. In other sectors in the past, the province has sometimes asked for mergers without so much resourcing. And so the intention of this merger funding coming from the province is to help with stability, to help with backfilling people, for example, even helping to enhance so that we're not distracting people from their day-to-day work. Well, as little as possible, and maintaining stability within the organization as well as stability of program delivery. It certainly is a consideration, something that we're aware of, and something that we're working to mitigate.
Well, thank you. And what gives me the confidence that this will work is obviously yourself, Dr. Lee, and having Councillor McKenna at the helm as well. I think we've got the people in place to try and make sure our community and the broader communities are well looked after through this process. So, any further questions or comments? Well, Councillor McKenna, anything to close out with?
Well, I could talk all day, but it's complex, you could imagine. And as I said, I get to work with a terrific group of people across the Southeast. The board of directors is meeting of our local health unit March 27th, I think. 28th. To consider, we'll have the feasibility plan. If it says what we expect it to say, we'll have to make an intention to merge motion. before April 2nd.
Happening very quickly now. Okay, any questions from those tuning in virtually? Councillor Brandon or McGuire? You're good? Okay. Well, Dr. Lee, thank you very much, and we look forward to hearing this, I guess, more details as things emerge.
Absolutely.
Okay, have a wonderful evening. Okay, moving ahead with our agenda. We have a consent agenda, which is with Councillor Quinn, please.
Thank you, Worship. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Robinson, that the items in the consent agenda report number 04/2024 be received from the clerk to be received and adopted.
Thank you. It is moved by Councillor Quinn, seconded by Councillor Robinson, that the items in the consent report number 04/2024 be received from the clerk are received and adopted. Would anyone like to see any item pulled from the consent agenda for further discussion? Clerk Costello?
Thank you, Your Worship. This evening, there's 3 bylaws. The first to adopt an electronic monitoring policy, the second to adopt the lighting and municipal assets policy, and the third is a bylaw to appoint Paul Dauer as the treasurer for the town of Smith Falls. We also have 3 resolutions. The first is to update banking authorization and banking duties. The second is the change order for trunk water main design, and the third being the 2023 Fire Department Annual Report.
Thank you. If there's no request to pull anything for further discussion, I'll call the question. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. No motions, no bylaws, inquiries and announcements. Councillor Brown, you have an announcement?
Yeah, I just wanted to mention a couple of things, Heritage House related. It's related actually to your, the first one's related to your announcement about Women's Day coming up. And the Heritage House started in 2022 a program, Remarkable Women of Smith Falls, and in that year they celebrated 28 women who lived and worked in Smith Falls and made positive contributions to the community. That's continued. And this year, they've recognized 8 more women, and they've coordinated with the DBA, and they're going to feature panels of these great people in various businesses in downtown Smith Falls, and also at the Curling Club for International Women's Day, Bondsville, on March 8th. So I wanted to highlight that, and I think they're going to do it again next year, and nominations will open in October. And the other thing I wanted to talk about was March break, because March break's fast approaching, and the Heritage House have got some great programs on March 12th from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. The Paddling Puppeteers Show and Workshop will be there, and that's a free event, and it's sponsored by the Kingston and Ontario Museums Association. I don't know what paddling puppeteers are, but go check it out. And on March 13th from 11 to 2, March of the Museums will be a drop-in event that includes crafts, activities, demonstrations at the museum. Again, that's by the Kingston and Ontario Museums Association, and that's a free event. And then they have a couple of camps, March 14th, from 10 to 3, a March break camp. Spring themed, it's $40 for that one, and ages 6 to 12. And on March 15th, from 10 to 3, it'll be a St. Paddy's Day themed event for $40. If you book both of them, the cost is $70, so you take $10 off. And I am told that as of Friday, there's some spots available for those two. So if you're interested in registering for the last two that I mentioned, call the museum at 283-6311. Should be a good March break for that.
Thank you very much. Any other announcements? Seeing none. Confirmatory bylaw is with Councillor Miller.
Thank you. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Brennan that a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council at its meeting on the 5th and 20th days of February 2024 be received and read a first time and taken as read a second time.
Thank you. It is moved by Councillor Miller and seconded by Councillor Brennan. The bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council at its meeting on the 5th and 20th days of February 2024 be received and read a first time and taken as read a second time. All in favor? Carried. Discussion, Councillor Miller?
Thank you. This is a housekeeping piece to confirm our work around this worship. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Brennan that a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council at its meeting on the 5th and 20th days of February 2024 be now read a third time and finally passed, signed, sealed, and numbered 10534-2024.
Thank you. It is moved by Councillor Miller and seconded by Councillor Brennan. The bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council at its meeting on the 5th and 20th days of February 2024 be now read a third time and finally passed, signed, sealed, and numbered 10534-2024. All in favor? And that is carried. On to adjournment. Councillor Robinson.
Thank you, Your Worship. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Brennan. Council adjourn its proceedings at 5:41 p.m. and stand so adjourned until the next duly called meeting of council.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Robinson, seconded by Councillor Brennan. This council adjourns proceedings at 5:41 p.m. and stands so adjourned until the next duly called meeting of council. All in favor? We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.